guys, welcome to another exciting episode of Make Your Mark podcast. I am super excited for this episode. Why? Because this lady that we got on today, she is awesome. She's super amazing. She's given me so much advice around little nitty-gritty things around leadership and workplace that I was going through, and she created magic. The results that I got after speaking with her were insane. And so I knew I had to get her onto this show because she can do the same thing for all of you. Now, her name is Ira. She is an entrepreneur and a co-partner of Emergy. Now, Emergy was founded in 2015 and is the forerunner in the field of developing, researching, training in the workplace, as well as using emotional skills and emotionally intelligent leadership. Now, that is key, guys, because this is exactly where the magic happens here. Now, she's also an author, keynote speaker, and a highly regarded trainer who has helped hundreds of leaders to unleash their true potential in leading self and others in terms of well-being and business results. Please welcome to the stage, Ira. Ira, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. And so am I. Oh my gosh, you nailed it. I'm like, wow, she's got it. What an intro. Thank you.
No worries. I mean, this was a long time coming, right? We've been speaking for a good few months, right? Trying to make this happen, and we finally made it. And I knew the minute we spoke, like we had a special connection, especially with what I was going through at that time. And you gave me some really awesome tips on how to handle it. And I was mind blown. We already spoke off camera on what happened after that conversation, which was a shock to me, it was a shock to you, but it was like, if you handle things the right way, anything is possible, right?
Absolutely.
And it's all to do with emotional intelligence and understanding people as a leader, right? Which is what we're going to be delving into today. Now,
Absolutely.
before we do, I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about your journey, because you didn't get to this point in business overnight. Didn't happen in a click of a
Nope.
finger. There was a journey. So what did that look like for you?
Oh my gosh, do we have time for this? Because it's a long journey. But you're absolutely right. It didn't happen overnight. And to be completely honest, today it's a great privilege to work with leaders and with workplaces and help them deal with different emotions and different people and so those hard situations as you were going through. And a lot of that has to do with, as you said, how do we come across? How do we deal with the emotions? How do we deal with the different emotions that you're going through, I'm going through, someone else is going through? Because at the end of the day, they have a huge impact on not only our well-being, but also the business performance, engagement, psychological safety, all those buzzwords. But to be completely honest, in the early years of my career, I had one thing in my mind, and that was, folks, let's all keep the emotions out of the workplace. All right. So, yeah. So I have a rather long journey to be where I am today, but I'm gonna try to squeeze it in a summary. But I have a master's degree in finance.
Okay.
I chose the subject, honestly, because it was the hardest to get into. I had no emotional attachment, no interest whatsoever towards the topic, but it was all, getting higher, better, doing all that, achieving results, proving myself and others that, I can do this. But also a story there is, I know very little about finance. I was really good at studying. I got good grades, but, and that's also a proof. If you don't have an emotional attachment to whatever you're doing, it's like, it's just another brick on the wall, something you're not really investing your heart in it. All right. So I graduated with high grades. I got a job in one of the big 4 companies. I was a management consultant for over 10 years in 2 different companies. leading different projects in financial services sector. And in the back of my head, a question occurred at times. Why is it that everyone is measured? Only the KPIs are indicating how much you deliver and how much you sell. But if you end up as a manager investing too much time of your time on people side, back in the day, I hope it's different these days, but back in the day, you were punished because your KPIs, your measurements were lower than your peers because you know it was time off of sales and delivery. Like, what's wrong with this equation? We don't have machinery, we don't have a factory. We only have people, their brains and their capacity and their commitment. So how on earth is it that we invest so little time on the people side, where that's the whole asset, that's the capital that we're working with? All right, so long story short, after working in one of the projects in financial services sector, a client wanted to hire me. And it was a shock to me at that time, because I had always imagined myself of being the youngest female partner in one of the big 4 companies. And, you know, I was climbing the ladder faster than anyone. And so the client wanted to hire me, like, oh my gosh, this is what a, you know, what a problem. First world problems, I would say. But at that time, like, what am I going to do? If I take the job, I'm going to lose I'm going to lose my dream. Or if I don't take the job, I'm going to lose the clients. What am I going to do? But something in me, some inner voice came out. I remember the time when I realized that if I don't do this now, it might be that I can never do this again, because I was very good at putting down all my emotions, you know, having this mask, being like a robot, like a bulldozer, doing the projects on time and budget, achieving the results, but not feeling anything. So I realized this is my time. This is something that's given to me as a tryout. And so I took the job. I was promised to start building a business development function, being a leader for about 10 people. Some were just graduated and some had been with the company for 30 plus years. And so I was like, I can finally invest my time in being a good leader, because I had realized that something in that, helping other people, you know, become the best versions of themselves, had in a certain way always like take my heart, and I realized this is what I really want to do. And I started doing that, and I was just amazed by the results that I was seeing with those, you know, people entering the work life and not having a lot of self-awareness or not a lot of self-regard, helping them, you know, trust in themselves, and then having them realize their passions in life and develop their careers. And also those who had been with the company for a long time, to be there, to show that I care, that I actually, I'm interested in you. I want to help you. How can I help you? Investing my time for them. And it was very simple. It's not rocket science, but I realized that that's what's needed in the business life. And I really enjoyed working in there. But then all of a sudden, I was offered this opportunity to take part in Emergy's leadership trainings. And now a colleague of mine was having the training, and he proved all the science in the back of all of the concepts and all the frameworks and the training concepts and the content, that it's actually been scientifically proven to improve the work life of individuals and businesses by decreasing dramatically the sick leaves, increasing well-being, increasing psychological safety, increasing innovativeness, increasing commitment, engagement, and thus resulting in business results. So the finance dude in me was all like, we will have an impact on the bottom line. So when I had the final session, it lasted for 6 months. After the final training session, I was driving home, and this, again, the inner voice came, and it was so strong, like, I have to do something. I have to follow this. And I picked up my phone, I called the guy, and I said, you know what, Jarkko, I still have one more thing to say to you. I'm going to work for you. I'm like, ooh. He goes, oh, whoa, what an idea. We don't have any job openings, but maybe you can become an entrepreneur. I'm like, oh, shoot, this is going to be the end, because I had just divorced. I was a single mom with 2 kids and a huge mortgage. I'm like, I can't quit my job. But then again, the inner voice, I'm like, this is so strong, the passion that I feel about this, to make work life better for people and businesses, to leave a footprint, to make an impact. So I quit my job.
Wow.
All friends and family were like, you are crazy.
Yeah, no backup plan?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay, wait. So I know the calling was so strong for you, right? But what made you feel like this is going to be okay to take this leap? Because there's so many people out there that feel so fearful of taking that jump.
Of course, Emergy was an established business at the time, so I wasn't a lonely writer. I soon became a partner in a company that had clientele, was a great reputation, the forerunner in the field of this. So it wasn't that I was just jumping, to a fuzzy place, but it was an established business, and I had gotten to know this Jarkko, the founding partner, through the training, and in a way, I just trusted him, and I was able to participate in a couple trainings before I did my final decision. A couple trainings that we did together for a client, for leaders, and that was the final decision point for me to see the change happen in those leaders that we were training together. That convinced me so heavily that I did, and I haven't regretted a day after. It was over 5 years ago.
Wow. Now that you said so much there, and I want to go back a little bit. Okay,
Right.
You mentioned right at the beginning that the best way is to make sure there's no emotions in the workplace. Okay? But as human beings, we carry emotions with us everywhere we go.
I know. And yet I still sometimes come across people who think the same. They believe in the same. And then, as you say, it is insane to think that we could somehow keep the emotions out of the workplace, because when people enter, emotions enter. We come with our emotional, whatever it is that we're going through. And the better we understand what's going on in me, so it all starts with self-awareness. I need to know what I'm bringing to this meeting, to this conversation that we're having today, and taking responsibility of that. That's the first step.
Okay.
So but you're absolutely right. It's impossible to keep the emotions out of the workplace. And by the way, the previous research that we did with top universities, the final report that they had said this fundamental wisdom in when we talk about emotions and people at workplace is that emotions are not opposite to rational thinking, but they are actually a prerequisite for rational thinking, to understand the impact of emotions, especially in stressful and tough situations. If we're ignorant to those, we will be like loose cannonballs, you know? So it's not either or. We have the emotions and the rational mind are always there to be aware of both and utilize the power of those both elements. That's the clue.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Now, I know, and you know this too, right? It's easier than it sounds, right?
Yes.
Or should I say it the other way around? It's harder than it sounds.
Let's put it this way. It's simple, but simple doesn't mean easy.
Right.
So
Because as human beings, and you know this, we have certain habits, and it's really difficult to come out of these habits after so many years. And so, I guess, what are the first things that we need to do to prevent bringing, I guess, negative energy, negative emotion
mm,
in a workplace, where it doesn't really deserve to be living there, right?
um, when we talk and study about emotions, the first fact also is that we cannot choose what we feel. So so if for example I'm having a bad day, I'm going to the workplace, I'm trying to get rid of that, commuting to the workplace or entering a Zoom or Teams meeting, but it happens so that it doesn't disappear. So instead of putting on a fake smile, because people are really sensitive on whether we are honest and true. So even if I would say, you ask me, so how's it going? I'm like, fine, everything is fine.
Your face
But
ain't saying that.
exactly. So most probably you become skeptical, like, really? And so all the focus of that meeting, even though let's imagine we have a super important topic that we need to deal with, actually you start to pay attention to, so what's going on in the back of that? What's really going on in the back of that? So if that happens, my duty is to inform you, saying, you know what? I have to confess, I'm having a really crappy morning today. And I'm sensing that it's impacting my presence here. But I want you to know that I'm trying my best. But if I appear not the typical self that you're familiar with, just to let you know that I had just a horrible morning, but I'm trying to deal with it. So please, let's move on. Wouldn't that be helpful instead of me trying to be all, no, nothing's wrong, I'm all good? So being honest in a constructive way is something that we train and we talk a lot about, because building authenticity and trust includes being a human being. You know, all of us have a bad day at some time. So, or it could be that you or me have had just a really difficult conversation with the client, and we enter another meeting, but I realize that it's still impacting me. So it's my responsibility to let you know what's going on in me. It's not like I'm going to be bombarding you with, I just had this horrible client, blah, 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 blah. No, but to inform you about the situation where I am at, if there is a negative impact on our encounter and the quality of our encounter that I am having. I don't know if it makes sense.
No, it does make sense, right? I mean, and that's the thing. It's so simple. What you're saying is so simple, but
Yeah.
we all struggle kind of understanding that or dealing with that. And I
Yeah.
think being honest and being authentic and letting people know what's going on with you is so important for them to understand where you are right now, right? But I think there's so many of us, and I know I've done it, right? When you have a bad day, people can sense it.
Yeah.
You're not okay. But you say, oh yeah, I'm fine, because you either don't want to burden the other person, or you're thinking they don't
Mhm.
want to hear my story, right? So therefore you just say, yeah, you're fine, even though you're not. And I think a lot of people do that.
A lot of people do that. And of course, I do that also. There are times when I don't want to share, but
Yeah.
if it's a conscious choice I make, then it's okay. But let's imagine a meeting where there are 10 people attending, especially remotely, not seeing each other, like not being physically in the same location. And everyone goes, yeah, I'm fine. And then we start talking about a topic, but there's this awkward silence. No one says nothing. It's like, so what's going on? And that's actually one of the techniques of being emotionally intelligent, to talk about the awkward silence, talking about the phenomena that we're all experiencing, but rarely talking about. So for example, I could say, you know, I'm starting to feel a bit confused here. I thought that we were talking about an important topic that really everyone had an opinion for it. What is this silence telling us about? Would someone inform? What's the silence saying? What is the message that's bearing? Is it because it's not important? Is it because we don't have time for it, or something else? I remember back in the day when I had these project meetings, and a lot of time I was expecting very lively and vivid conversations about, making decisions. And all of a sudden it's like, no one is participating.
Ooh.
Everyone is dead silence. And I did that. I asked, so what's going on? I need to know. Is it because it's not of interest, or what's going on? And then trusting the silence is also one, because silence is awkward, right?
Yes.
So trusting the silence, keeping the mouth shut, and not, explaining or blah, 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 just waiting. And every single time someone started to talk, for example, you know what? We've been so busy with other items that have critical deadlines on this project that I actually don't have any brain capacity to think about this topic right now. Oftentimes, they are very, very natural or very, acceptable things that are causing us to behave like that. But if it's said, or if it's left unspoken, we leave the meetings thinking, oh, what a crappy meeting, what happened there? And then it starts to deteriorate the emotional climate and the psychological safety and the atmosphere of trust. So having the courage, as you and I were talking about your situation, having the courage to do a self-disclosure, that's what we call it, selective self-disclosure, to start talking about, not blaming other people. So what's going on? Why are you silent? But talking about, I'm starting to feel confused and curious, because I thought we were having a meaningful conversation, but all I hear is silence. And I would really want to know what's going on.
I like that. See, the biggest thing that I'm hearing from you is really we just got to ask the question, right? Stop getting in our own heads and assuming stuff.
That's yes,
Right?
yes, you got it absolutely right. Stop assuming, because that happens in an instant. It's an intuitive process. We start making all these judgment calls and assumptions, and worst of all, we start believing those stories that we tell ourselves. And oftentimes they lack reality. So you're absolutely right.
Also, so I want to delve into a little bit more regards to leadership and having emotional as a leader, and why that's important in the workplace. So could you share some of, I guess, even experiences that you've had with your clients where they've come to you in a certain situation, you've coached them, you've told them exactly what needs to be done, how to actually delegate that situation, and then what the results have been?
Absolutely. So I just came across, as you were explaining, an example. Again, this is this is an example of how simple these things are. But oftentimes, when we are highly educated, experienced leaders, we feel that it's so complicated and we don't even dare to try it out. But there was a leader who was attending our training program, and she had received feedback of quite low levels of engagement within her team. Um, and she reported back to us saying, you know what, I can't even believe this is true. I was attending the program and I learned about being curious towards other people and not, people who have troubles or problems or worries or anxiety. They don't want first your advice, but actually what they need first is someone who takes them seriously and listens, pays attention, and really shows that I am interested in you. I want to understand. I want to help you. And that's what she started to do. Instead of, she is a subject matter expert. She knows everything of, everything that they do. She knows best. And what she has done in the past with good intentions is to offer advice right away, offer advice. And so what she did was, I stopped giving advice and instead I actually listened. I let them talk and share and, and people have, after a couple of weeks of doing that, people have said, oh, I feel more connected now. How is it that I feel like you're really empathetic towards me? Oh, you have helped me so much. And she's like, how is it possible? Because I always thought that my job is to give advice, to help them solve the problem. Yes, there's a time when that happens, but it's not in the first phase, because that's when you build trust. Well, that's when you have the person open up and really feel that you care, in order for them to really feel the actual problem and not just the surface.
Okay.
So that's one example.
I like that.
And as you said, they are very, I would say,
some of them can be very sensitive topics, right?
Yeah.
Because I know what you helped me out with was very sensitive, which is why I don't want to divulge so much information. But one of the things that I learned from you was the languaging and being tactful in what you say, right? So it doesn't matter how delicate the topic is, right? First of all, we need to understand, like you said to me, that a conversation needs to happen, right? There needs to be a conversation, right? It's not going to disappear, right? It could potentially get worse, right? And you're saying that you got to be brave to have that conversation, but at the same time, keeping in mind of how the other person feels. And that's all to do with the languaging, the words that you use, and how tactful you use them, right? So that was so powerful, because I saw myself the results, right? Which was astonishing and completely not what I was expecting. But a lot of people say, you know what, words count. Words do count. And they absolutely do. And when you are a leader in that role, that needs to be in the forefront of your mind, because that's the only way you're going to be able to lead and communicate with your team to get any sort of results and success, right?
Absolutely. There is another example. Do we have time for that?
Yes, please.
Another example, you just brought it to my mind, when I was coaching a CEO in a professional services company, and all of a sudden they had lost a lot of their middle managers to their rivals, to their competitors. So a lot of the people that they wished didn't leave the company actually left. So the rest of the company was all like, what's going on? Am I next? What's happening? What's going on? Why are they leaving? So a lot of rumors were going on. And he was preparing for a town hall, ready to address what's going on. And so I was coaching him, and I was asking, so what are you about to share with your staff? So they are all question marks, and they are confused. They are worried, even fearful, because, all of a sudden those people are leaving, and then someone's got to do the job. And also, they're wondering, so who's next? Who's leaving next? And such. And so what he was originally planning on showing them was a roadmap of recruitments. So this is how we're going to tackle the problem that we're having. People have left the company, but no worries. We're going to, find new people to replace them. Now, as I was listening, I asked him, you know what? Can I be really honest with you? If I were there to listen, that information that you are planning on sharing would not convince me. I would be left out thinking, our CEO doesn't care. Do you want to deliver that kind of message? Like, no. But I thought people want to see a plan, a roadmap. That's how we're going to fix it. I'm like, yes, but not in the first place. So I asked him, would you dare to share with me, how does this situation make you feel as a CEO, losing the best talent? And I sensed he calmed down, and he got all emotional. And he was, I am so sad. I am devastated. This is keeping me up all night because I'm thinking, what did we do wrong? I didn't want this to happen. I want this place to be a home for these people, to be the source of, of joy and fun and succeeding together. I'm devastated. And then I asked him, is there something of that, what you shared with me, that you could share with everybody? And he's like, really? Like, yes, that's what they need to hear.
Right.
And so he did. And he texted me saying afterwards, because I was all like, what's happening? I was curious to know, how did it turn out? And he's saying, I've never received so much positive feedback from all across the company. And I said, well, there you go. That's what the people needed. They needed to see your human side in this. That's how you build trust. That's how you build authenticity. That's how you are a leader. You need to show that you care, because this is a devastating situation. So yeah, and a lot of similar examples where leaders have had the courage to share something of how are they perceiving it, what emotions are they feeling, or what are they thinking about it. Even if sharing about emotions is too much, share what you think of it. Because people want, in these times when we have turbulence and we have so much uncertainty in the world around us, people need to have a leader that they can relate to. They don't want hype. But they want something. They want authenticity. They want authentic hope. And that's what you build with being a human being behind your leadership role. Show that you care.
That was super powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. Oh my goodness. It's funny, the slightest shift can make a huge difference in the workplace, right? And with your team and peers and things like that. So that is amazing. The fact that you was able to identify that as quickly as you did, it just shows people that they need you, right? Business owners need to hire you, right? Because you can change the entire culture of a business, right, for the positive. And so at this point, I know people are thinking, how do I get hold of Ira? How can I connect with her? So where can people go to actually, book a call with you, learn more about you? What would be the best place?
The easiest place would be emergywork.com. That's our webpage. You can book a meeting there, or I can actually type my name to you so that you can share. But yeah, I'm active on LinkedIn. We're also active on LinkedIn from Emergy side, but Ira Leppänen. I know it's hard to pronounce. But yeah, you can find me there. We are sharing advice. We're trying, as I said, our mission is to make work-life better for people and businesses with emotional intelligence. So if this is of interest, connect with us. We're happy to help.
Awesome. Now, it should be an interest for every single business owner out there, no matter whether you're a startup or, you're a large business. In order to make improvement, sometimes we can't see the gaps ourselves, and we need someone on the outside to come and show us. And this is what Ira can do. This is where she creates magic. Absolutely. So you need to go and connect with her right now. Ira, thank you so much for coming on the show. So many golden nuggets in such a short amount of time.
Thank you so much for having me. What a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.